But in order to find out if that's true or not, you got to give that man a chance. It don't really matter if he was a GD, if he was a Mole, if he was a Blood, if he was a Crip, hustler, whatever you is. Somebody got to give you a chance. And although we all make mistakes, we could be redeemed. So I asked myself, what is the content of Hoover's character?
Well, anytime you do a extensive time, a disciple don't like a nice Lord. We all black people.
They say gangs are usually started because there's a lack of parental guidance. But that wasn't really so with Hoover. Because of his family values and his beliefs, it made him a natural leader. People seemed to flock to him. By 1969, Mr. Hoover had started an organization that had spread through much of Chicago, and it's estimated there were 10,000 members strong. Perhaps this is where the problem really started.
You gotta realize when this thing was first put together, you know what I'm saying? It was BGDN. Now we're gonna talk straight out, we're gonna talk straight out. And when it was BGDN, you had David Barksdale, you know what I'm saying? And you had Larry Hoover. And as they come together as one, you know what I'm saying, it became BGDN, Black Gangster Disciples Nation.
The Trevor Jackson Podcast.
Oh, man. Interesting. You know, growing up in my community, the projects, the ghetto, whatever you want to call it, I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee. People probably think it ain't even no street star, but it's street star and it's influence star. Gang influence, GD influence, Crips, Bloods, it's everything that applies to street life everywhere else, it's the same thing. So I wonder, you know, I've removed myself from that lifestyle 2 decades ago, but the mind frame, you know, I want to see if this mind frame still exists, because when I was growing up in the hood, being a part of something was pivotal. Like everybody wanted to be attached to something that they felt was valuable. You know, I used to look up to the Frank Lucases, the Rayful Edmonds, the Bumpy Johnsons, the real Rick Ross, the freeway Rick Ross. I used to look at those videos and, you know, we was taught that those were success stories. You know, those was the people that we perceived was successful. Rayful Edmond was a super hustler, but the story that gravitated to me the most was Larry Hoover, because they always talked about how he was a leader, his leadership qualities, and them giving him all of those life sentences at just 23 years old. What did he really do that hurted politicians' feelings, that impacted the community in Chicago to the degree that he deserved that much time? You know, if we even got some OGs or some older heads that's watching my content, I would appreciate it if y'all left y'all perspective in the comment section, or, you know, email me and we can link up and have the discussion ourselves, you know, because this right here is a pivotal time in the black community. I remember Big Meech was freed. You know, I didn't think that Meech I ain't talking bad about Meech or his son or the incident with 50 or whatever, but I really thought Meech was gonna come out of prison and do something constructive and uplifting and speaking knowledgeable to the people and having some sort of plan that's gonna impact more people than what he's doing now. He's talking about concerts and shows and, you know, signing rappers and all all this old type of foolishness. Now, I'm gonna read the ABC News article, but I want to say something about People been advocating for freeing Larry Hoover. People been saying that he was a leader and he could stop violence and gang violence. And then you heard the young boys in Chicago talking about we ain't got no OGs, we ain't listening to nobody, we crashing out regardless. So I'm really interested in seeing what his impact is going to be once he's freed, and seeing if he has some sort of uplifting conversation that's helpful to the community, to the people, to show empowerment. I want to see him sit down with some of the Nation of Islam members, or I want to see him sit down with some sort of interview or podcast or something and see what, what I mean, has been on his mind and his thoughts about some of the things that has been occurring since he been locked up, and what are some of the things that really affected him. So let's get into it. Trump commutes sentence of former Chicago gang leader Larry Hoover. President Donald Trump commuted the federal sentence of Larry Hoover, a Chicago gang leader who has been serving multiple life sentences for charges including murder, extortion, and money laundering. It's one of several actions announced by Trump, announced Thursday, May 28th, that also includes the pardon of a former U.S. Army officer who was found guilty by a special court martial during the Biden administration for refusing to follow COVID-19 safety measures. A pair of reality television personalities and former U.S. Rep. Michael Grimm, a New York Republican who resigned after being convicted of tax fraud. Hoover led the Gangster Disciples and was convinced in a 1973 murder in Illinois. Court documents say while serving up to 200 years for the crime, he was convicted of several federal crimes associated with continuing to run the gang from prison. Taking on a life sentence in 1997, Trump's action wipes out his federal charges, but the original state charges remain in effect, keeping the 74-year-old behind bars. Goodness gracious, what the state gonna do? What Illinois is gonna do? Are they gonna let him free? So he still has years, but what was the point of this though? Like if the pardon doesn't free the man from his federal charge, just by you pardoning him of his federal charges, what is the point of this? Can Trump tell the state, damn it, y'all better do what y'all better do what y'all need to do, or we're gonna have some sort of financial issues in Illinois? Does he have the power to do that? And why is he only pardoning black entertainers and former criminals? That is super interesting to me, because like, does he only value notable people or people that's contributed to the agenda, or that is willing to keep contributing to the agenda that America has for the people of color, for black people? It's, it's just easy to specify, to be specific with one individual, but it ain't hard to help the collective. I want to mention something about reparations right here, but this is eye-opening to me that when he left office last time, he pardoned Kodak Black and Lil Wayne. This time during his presidency, he pardoned NBA YoungBoy and Larry Hoover. Is he doing this for money or something? It's just interesting to see this situation. The former gang leader attracted celebrity support over the last several years. Chicago-born rapper Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, and Drake hosted a free Larry Hoover benefit concert at the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum December 2021. Ye posted to X May the 28th, thanking the president for commuting the sentence. Hoover's son, Larry Hoover Jr., who has also publicly advocated for his father's release and for prison reform and sentencing fairness, thanked Ye after the commutation was announced. So I want to play something to y'all, because I clipped up a few items. I didn't just want to read on this episode. I clipped up a few items. Do y'all remember this incident with Kanye West?
Community. He started showing that he actually had power, that he wasn't just one of a monolithic voice, but he could wrap people around. So there's theories that there's infinite amounts of universe and there's alternate universe. So it's very important for me to get Hoover out, because in an alternate universe, I am him. And I have to go and get him free, because he was doing positive inside of Chicago. Back into the city. So those are, and also Larry Hoover is an example of a man that was turning his life around. And as soon as he tried to turn his life around, they hit him with 6 life sentences. So I believe you say don't tear down the statues. Larry Hoover is a living statue. He's a beacon for us that needs to see his family, that needs to go out and represent. When you have a block leader on every single block, they can.
What do you want this meeting to lead to in terms of honestly, from our standpoint, this was just set up to be a lunch of 2 people that I like, and I guess they like me. And we're gonna have lunch. We're gonna talk.
You said, I guess you know I love you.
I know.
Did I?
But I don't want to put you in that spot. But
No, I'm standing in that spot. I love this guy right here. Let me give this guy a hug right here. I love this guy right here.
that's really nice. Come here. That's really nice. And that's from the heart. I didn't want to put you in that position, but that's from the heart. Special guy. These 2 are special people. Whether you like it, whether you don't like it, they're special people. And I appreciate it. Jim, Kanye, I appreciate it. So let's go have some lunch.
You know, it was other individuals that advocated for the release of Larry Hoover also. And one of those individuals who has been doing it over the time was Jay Prince. He released this yesterday on Instagram saying, "Thank you to President Donald Trump and the angel from heaven, my sister, Alice Marie Free, for allowing the creator to work through you. We're deeply grateful to the president for doing what no other president would, freeing and pardoning my brother, Larry Hoover. In his own words, never stop swinging. To my brother, Justin A. Moore, Josh, and everyone who contributed to this journey, thank you. I appreciate you all more than words can express." You know, he said no other president could do pardoning and freeing. He's not free yet. Or am I missing something? He's not free yet. But Kanye West, you know, he has done a lot of crazy shit this year and last year. But he stood for the freeing and the pardoning of Larry Hoover. And I think that had an impact on Trump, and Trump did it. You know, I can't speak to the character of Larry Hoover. I don't know the character of the man of Larry Hoover. He was locked up 7 years before I was born. And I'm 45 years old, got gray hair. He been locked up for 52 years, nigga. They locked him up when he was 23. He been locked up for 52 years. What type of hatred has to be, you know? Damn, 52? I wish I knew, you know, what type of impact he was having on the streets of Chicago. But I understand, like, the GDs, they nationwide, man. It's a GD in every city. His influence empowered people and wanted people to become part of something. Everybody want to belong to something. I remember growing up and wanting to belong to something. And when I got older, I didn't want to belong to nothing because I didn't want to bear the responsibilities or the actions of other people that might have been connected to me from me wanting to belong to this thing. You know, let me continue reading, man. I got one more clip and I'm off this thing. This is, you know, interesting, man. Beginning in the early 1970s, the Gangster Disciples sold cocaine, heroin, and other drugs in Chicago. At its height, the criminal enterprise had approximately 6,000 members and raked in $100 million annually, according to court documents. Woo. And I'm going to tell you something. Y'all raking in hundreds of millions in the 70s? Woo. One thing the government don't want people to do is get some bread, dog. They don't want you getting no bread and not paying no taxes. They coming for that ass. Pause. If you making millions of dollars and not paying taxes. So that right there shows me that it was a hatred brewed from that. You could be worth $10,000, $100,000 out here in the streets looking pretty and cute and out and got all your time, and the police and federal agents is gonna want to, see about you. Hoover, also known as King Hoover, led the gang internally referred to as the family. Court filing saying, only the family, dirt. Hoover, alongside fellow gang member Andrew Howard, was convicted of murdering 19-year-old drug dealer William Pookie Young in 1973 and was sentenced to a term of 150 to 200 years imprisonment. That is like crazy, that amount of time, though, because they ain't giving that amount of time no more. You know, you can harm somebody that look like you today and be home in 5 years max. In these times, they more concerned with you getting some money. They ain't concerned with you harming your own because you're just doing the job for them. While serving the sentence, the government in 1993 obtained recordings of the convicted gang leader by hiding transmitters and badges worn by Hoover's visitors, leading to federal charges associated with Hoover continuing to lead the Gangster Disciple from behind bars. So in 1993, he was locked up. They obtained recordings of the convicted gang leader by hiding transmitters and badges worn by Hoover's visitors. I want to know something. I've been trying to do my research on this also before I attack the topic. When was snitching created? Why was snitching created? And what is the real benefits of allowing somebody to snitch and let them go to get somebody else? I just want to be educated on that. Hoover spent nearly 3 decades serving the sentence at a maximum security in Colorado. Man, hey, that's the story. That's the story that USA Today put out, man. That's according to USA Today. I got one more clip, but before I go, I want to say that this is something that I never thought would happen, him being pardoned. The day he be released will be very interesting. I'm looking forward to hearing him speak, and I want to see the impact that he makes. I talked about Big Meech at the beginning of the episode and everything, though. And people advocate for folks being released because I don't think that nobody deserves to go to prison, or it's not a place for rehabilitation. It should be some sort of something different. I really don't like that prison industrial system. That's just something that I don't condone. But once you pay your debt to society, what are your intentions when you come home? Are these people going to be able to make an impact? Will you even accept the knowledge that they have learned since they've been gone? It's a different world, man. We living in a different world in different times. But this is the last clip I wanted to play. And I'm going to get up off this thing, man.
When Brother Hoover let it be known about the blueprint being published and put something that once was secret into the public domain, let everybody know that it was about evolution from Gangster Disciples to growth and development. So everybody didn't want to hear the social change for a positive end. They still stick to that Gangster Disciple. That's on them. What Larry Hoover is about, and those that's locked up is about, and the concept that I'm about, is growth and development, making the individual have a right to grow and develop.
Gator Bradley has become the consigliere of Chicago street gangs.
I think growth and development is not necessarily what the Gangster Disciples are all about.
That man at the end, that was kind of shady. I'm talking about growth and development. At the time that I first heard of GD, that's what they was promoting, was growth and development. And he wrote a book called The Blueprint on how to live and everything, and how he wanted the people to, conduct themselves. How he wanted us not us, because I don't want to, you got to be careful with your words, man. I don't want to connect myself to nothing. But how he wanted the GDs to conduct themselves, control your community and your politicians. So he was talking about voting and all kind of stuff. And he put this piece out. This is his book. He put out multiple books also, and he calls himself a U.S. political prisoner. So, the blueprint of a new concept, the vision is for us to acquire marketable skills that will provide us with a legal avenue of financial support. The vision dictates that we learn the political process of our community and become involved to the extent of having a voice in our destiny, that we conduct ourselves in a manner that is compatible to our community, that we frown upon this senseless R word, robbery, burglary, theft, and murder that is rampant in our community, that we establish ourselves in business that is an asset to ourselves as well as our community, that we set examples that will make it safe for our youth to be a part of us, and ultimately that we eliminate the awesome rate of recidivism. I can't pronounce that word. RECIDVSM. That's spooky that I can't pronounce a word. That is the experience of a large portion of our youth. This message, and I'm going to post the link in the description, but this message right here, it doesn't align. I'm not going to read all of this one. They already got words in there I can't pronounce. So I'm not going to read all of that one, but I'm going to put it in the description for people to read. But before I go, I want to say something about that. In the hood, everybody doesn't have the same purpose, agenda. Black people, even gangsters, are not a monolith. We are all not the same. We are not the same. So by saying that, it's hard to unite. It's hard to stay in your community when people's intentions ain't the same. When he was locked up, his whole purpose changed from what I'm reading to wanting to do better, uplift the community, create businesses, do this, uplift black people. A lot of people, once they get out of that environment, even me, your whole mind frame changed because you ain't starving and scratching and fighting for the next dollar and the next meal, and you're not in that intense environment, so you actually get to calm down and think. When you're in that environment, if you can calm down and think, you'll be like, all this shit that I'm participating in is bullshit, and I'm going to get my life on track, man. But everybody want to be a part of something. Everybody want to look good around the people that ain't even looking out for your best intentions anyway. Let's see how this transpires, man. Thank y'all for tuning in to my show. Peace, love, plenty, abundance. Make sure you go get you some money, and I'm gone. Chill.
The Trevor Jackson Podcast.